Welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show, and from Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices, we have Jim Lee in studio.
Joe.
Hello, sir.
Good to see you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah?
Doing well.
You look healthy. You look happy.
Yeah.
You've had a good summer, haven't you? You've had a good summer.
I've had a good summer. Looking forward to this fall.
Yeah, I bet you are. You're like me. You prefer the snow, right? You're more of a skier. At the end of the day.
Don't take it wrong. I go both ways.
Oh, is that right? Good to know, Jeff. You know what? It's also that middle of the season comes with one other special thing in the mail, right?
Indeed.
It's when you get your tax assessment.
Indeed,
for your home.
It is. And people got them maybe a month ago, and then there was a revised version that came out recently.
Is that right?
And it wasn't lower.
Oh, of course not. One would suspect, right? One of the things that I suppose is interesting and important to note about receiving your tax assessment is that, and I don't know that everybody really understands this. I didn't even understand this until I went and met with the folks at the, with the auditing offices, is that the tax base is the same regardless of how many pay. There's a certain amount of money that has to be brought in.
Exactly.
And it'll be brought in from however many people are participating, one way or another, right?
Well put.
So when you, if you find something at issue with your tax assessment, you can go and have that looked at again.
Exactly.
There's a way to appeal these things.
Exactly.
And it's not difficult, really.
It's not. They're just looking for evidence if you're going to protest what your taxes are. And this year, everyone took notice, shall we say, because it went up. And what really went up was also the valuation.
Okay.
So the valuation of properties. And what a lot of people didn't realize is that perhaps, in general, properties had been undervalued, shall we say.
Yes.
And in raising the values, they've come up to what is today's market. Now, in certain instances, certainly, people have a legitimate, request in having their taxes lowered because they may be higher than normal.
Well, let's talk about some of the things that can be wrong, because some of them are really, really basic. One of them, obviously, is the size of your home. That can be measured incorrectly very easily, especially if, for a moment, instance, you have a home where the second floor, let's say you have 2 floors, if that second floor isn't the entire home, if it doesn't run the same space as the first floor, it's often just, the calculation is just done based on the first floor. They say, okay, you've got 2 floors, they double the amount, and there you go. And that may not be the case. You might be off by several hundred to 1,000 square feet.
Sure. And that's one instance of many situations that could take place. Usually what people are upset about is the fact that last year their house was valued, let's say at $500,000, and this year it's at $600,000. And they're saying, whoa, that's a huge increase in 1 year. Well, it was perhaps undervalued at that $500,000, as I mentioned. And now what people need to do in order to protest is show evidence of the value being lower. And what they do is they come to a realtor, and what we do is we run the comparable sales in the neighborhood.
Exactly. This is where having a realtor is super important, because you can't just go to the MLS yourself and pull all the different reports. That's where a realtor comes in.
And what the value they're looking for is the value as of January 1st.
Oh, wow.
Of 2014.
Yeah, so it's because the taxes are in arrears.
So it's a little different. And right on the tax notice, it indicates here the deadline to make an appeal to the Board of Equalization is October the 6th.
Wow.
So you've got, there's still some time there.
Yeah, and in the Salt Lake Valley, it was actually September the 1st. So it's come and gone. Now, there are some exceptions. If you need to look those up, because there are some exceptions that give you a little bit longer time. I believe that's the same here in the county.
And that's because they revised it too, Joe. So they had to give a little more time. Sure.
Yeah, but like I said, the very first and one of the guaranteed first things you got to do is get those comparables.
Yeah. And another thing to initially note is the status of the property. And what I mean by that is it a primary residence or is it a secondary?
Sure.
Okay, now they're taxed at different rates. And if you live there full time, it's a primary. Or if it's an investment property, perhaps that you have
rental or something like that.
long-term rental of 12 months or longer, that can qualify as a primary, one needs to show the lease agreement to the assessor. And then they will adjust it to make it a primary residence.
Right, because somebody's paying that tax and it's
That's
not
right.
a renter.
That's right.
So in that case, you get
Yeah.
the benefit of being a landlord of a home that
Right.
is being used as a home.
Right.
Over that 12-month period.
And if it's not a primary, it's considered a secondary, meaning it just pure use as a second home or an investment property that's rented out or whatever. It's all treated in general by the state as commercial.
Okay.
So the two areas in the state that are really affected would be Park City and St. George that have more second homes.
Sure they do.
Investment properties.
Yeah. And like you said, the tax rates are different, and you want to make sure that they're assessed properly based on what that use of that home is. It's an encouragement for people to lease homes out for a year or more.
Right.
Is a big
One
part of
other
that.
thing, Joe, that is happening on this tax notice is that it's not just an increase of valuation, but an increase of demand from the sewer district or the fire district or whomever. Those rates went up slightly, but they go up a little bit, and it has a big effect.
Yes, indeed. One thing that I think is, and I look at this as a good time of year to do this anyway, right? You check your fire alarms, your smoke alarms, you check your assessment to see if it's correct. And while you're doing that, especially if you go and do the measurements, pull the comps and things like that, one of the things you can also do is appeal to your insurance company as well to make sure that you're properly insured, because oftentimes these same numbers can be used. The insurance company often just pulls from this. And they might assess a different value for your home than what it is if it were to if you were to have something
Very
bad
good
happen.
point. And as I drive around and I see how many remodels are going on.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing. So perhaps some people are increasing the size of their home, and in that they need to insure a little bit more too.
Exactly. So a lot of these things can save you money. They might cost you a little more too.
Well,
but at the end of the day, right? At the end of the
Yeah.
day, the one thing you want to make sure is that your home is properly taken care of in case you have a loss. That's covered, and in the case of taxes, that you sell for the right amount, you're paying the right amount. All those things are important.
Right.
Wow. Yeah. So I have to ask you, because we teased this earlier, and it's we just want to know. It's as we come into the shoulder season here, what's hot right now in Park City? Where are the hot homes? What's selling?
I guess it's still homes valued under $1 million. Actually, I'm even going to sneak it up just a little bit, say to $1.2 million or $1.3 million.
Yeah.
In Old Town and Prospector, particularly in Park Meadows.
Right.
And those homes, there are buyers out there. Right now, there are buyers in our market, but they're not ready to pay any price either.
Yeah.
But they're out there where they weren't a couple of years ago.
Right.
And they're looking, and so when you bring something on the market, if it's priced competitively, likely there's going to be some interest, especially in the lower end type price range there.
Which is always amazing that lower end moves up quite often.
Yeah, and we're talking
We're up to the $1 million point.
Yeah,
which is different than even 6 months ago, where it had to be under $1 million or people weren't even looking at it.
Yeah, well, and we started with the condos under 500,000. That was a hot market where a lot of people were purchasing them as primary residences.
Sure.
To move into.
And it's interesting. There's sort of a middle there, isn't there? Where there's lots of interest in the middle, or not much interest in the middle. There's interest on the really high end, and on that lower tier.
Exactly.
The middle is just.
So we have a number of homes priced in that $1.5 million to $2.5 million range.
Yeah.
And some of them are very nice homes.
But this is a tough area to be in.
There isn't quite as much demand right there. And then, as you say, it's kind of a fluke, because then you go to the higher end, and even the real high end homes are getting shown right now. Not a whole lot of sales, but there are buyers out there looking in September.
Pent up frustration is what I put that to, right? There's people who've been holding on to some cash.
We call it pent up demand.
Is that what you call it? I'm going to your earlier comment, I guess, Jim.
Okay. Okay.
That's awesome. Well, it is that time of year, and obviously, when someone's looking to sell, you kind of want to get this happening right now before ski season really hits, right?
Ideally, the shoulder season here affects real estate too, to an extent, because there just aren't as many buyers around in October, November.
Exactly.
You still?
No, you've got to be thinking about that, especially as ski season happens. I mean, you want to be early in the season, right? Some people start to come in from out of
Ideally,
town.
yes.
That's a kind of an ideal time to have a lot of interest behind your home.
Right.
So timing on this is important. It's a good time. I think we've mentioned this before. You need to be thinking about the sale that's going to happen 3 months from now, getting ready now.
That's right.
Right.
That's absolutely right. You know, and as you're saying, we're going through a transition where more primary residences will sell during the warmer months, more secondary residences will sell during the colder months. That's a real generalization. That used to be hard and fast in the old days, but now a primary residence can sell in December, but there aren't as many lookers, shall we say.
Late October, early November, great times. As we come into the spring, another great time. Early spring. Right. So we definitely need to start thinking about it right now.
Yeah.
Jim Lee.
Yeah, we got the fire going here.
I know, we're well on our way. I appreciate you being here as always, Jim Lee, Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. You get a couple cigars? We'd love talking about money and homes. We can sit back and relax a little bit.
Then I'll start choking.
We'll be back with more right here on the Mountain Morning Show. I'm sure Chelsea's got at least one more video to show us, and we'll tell you all about next hour. We'll be right back.